Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon, and oh my god, Disney, your failure is complete. Disney's Mulan is now a complete and total failure because its target audience, China, yeah, they're not allowed to talk about it. They're not allowed to talk about it because of the controversy associated with this movie, the bad press associated with this movie, that Disney filmed part of Mulan near concentration camps and then thanked them at the end in the credits for this movie. Absolute PR disaster. One of the worst PR disasters I think Disney has ever had. And all of this was about them chasing Chinese audiences. And it's been a PR disaster since day one. I'm hearing Chinese audiences don't even like the movie. And now, apparently, the media, the Chinese media, is not even allowed to talk about it because of the controversy. So this is going to be a really interesting video, guys. Gotta give a hat tip to Black Sage D for sending me a link to this earlier this morning. Thank you. Go follow him on Twitter. He's definitely worth a follow. Very, very smart guy. And before we get into the video anymore, I just want to make you guys aware that in the merch shop, we have a merch shop now, by the way, shopclownfish.com. If you go to shopclownfish.com and you use the code SUMMEREND for the next 3 or 4 days, I think it's 3 days, 3 days, you get 20% off everything in the store. And that includes our new hats. We got some cool hats here. Check this out. They come in blue, so you can get a Bubbly Steve hat. I think I'm going to get one of these. So then people know who I am if they see me walking around, right? All right, so check that out, shopclownfish.com. We are our own sponsor. It was either that or Raid Shadow Legends, which keeps writing us, by the way. We've turned Raid Shadow Legends down like 12 times in the last 2 years. It's crazy. All right, guys, so this is coming from Reuters, and everybody's talking about it. China bars media coverage of Disney's Mulan after, I think it's pronounced Xinjiang backlash. Chinese authorities have told major media outlets not to cover Walt Disney's release of Mulan in an order issued after controversy erupted overseas over the film's links with the Xinjiang region. 4 people familiar with the matter told Reuters. Now, this is coming from Reuters. They're usually pretty accurate. Set to open in local theaters on Friday, Disney had high hopes for Mulan in China, but starving it of publicity in the country's strictly censored media would be another blow to the $200 million production. Just write this shit off, Disney. Mulan is a complete bust, and what's going to be really interesting, I'm going to talk about this too. Geeky did an article yesterday talking about how much money Disney lost this year and how it's projected that next year they are also going to lose a ton of money. And remember back to that quarterly earnings call, Q3, that they kept insisting Mulan on Disney Plus was going to be the savior. It was going to save Disney. Now, I am hearing that Disney Plus downloads did increase significantly because of Mulan. People might just be wanting to check out this train wreck. We reviewed the movie. We spent the money, so you didn't have to. I gave it like a 4 out of 10. Geeky actually liked it better than I did, objectively. I thought it was a very, very boring movie, and I didn't like the fact that they basically gave Mulan superpowers. They were like, oh, let's make a more realistic Mulan, but let's have a shape-shifting witch and give Mulan superpowers. But anyway, this movie was designed to basically pander to China because Disney, we know they're chasing that Chinese cheddar. South Park totally called it. And now it's a complete failure because they're not allowed to talk about it in China. Starring some big name Chinese actors, based on a Chinese folk story, Mulan was tailored to appeal to audiences in China, the world's second largest movie market. But mixed reviews online and capacity limits in theaters due to coronavirus prevention measures were likely to weigh on its box office performance, even before major media outlets received a notice telling them to refrain from covering the movie. 3 sources told Reuters media outlets had received the notice, 2 of whom said it was sent by the Cyberspace Administration of China. A 4th source at a major Chinese newspaper said he received a text message with a similar order from a senior colleague. No reason was given, but the sources said they believed it was because of the overseas backlash over the film's link to Xinjiang. Neither the Cyberspace Administration or Disney immediately responded to requests for comments. Disney's not saying anything about this. This is one of the biggest clusterfucks in the company's history. And they're not going to talk about it because they can't afford any more bad press. You know, look, guys, we've said before, Disney's Achilles heel is their reluctance to admit wrongdoing. They can't stand bad press. They can't. It is literally like holy water to them. And this is one of the biggest black eyes this company has ever gotten. Ever. I mean, this is just not good. I mean, we've gone from Disney, which has been coming under fire for kowtowing to China from government officials here in the US. And you got to remember, Walt Disney himself testified against alleged communists at the House Un-American Committee's 1947. Walt Disney did not like communism. He didn't like communists. Okay? At all. And now we've got Disney being accused of kowtowing to the CCP. And we've got Disney accused of giving high fives to people who are responsible for concentration camps. I mean, this is not a good look. This is not a good look. And here to think all you were worried about all these years, Disney, was making sure you had the proper ratio of ethnic diversity and sexual identity diversity. And meanwhile, you're being associated with concentration camps. What the hell? And, you know, if you go out to piratesandprincesses.net, by the way, you can find some other stories. WDW Pro put a story out there about how Disney probably didn't even want Mulan in U.S. theaters to begin with. This was a product for China. It was designed for China. Now China won't even talk about it. Partly shot in Xinjiang. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I had to look it up. I think I am. I don't know. Mulan's credits included thanks to the authorities there. Thank you, Yahtzee Party. Thank you, Yahtzee Party. Thank you for letting us film over here, which prompted calls overseas for a boycott of the movie. China's clampdown on ethnic, Uyghurs and other Muslims in Xinjiang has been criticized by some governments, including the United States and human rights groups. Everybody's talking about this. Disney is giving high fives to the bad guys. On Wednesday, the Global Times, a tabloid run by the ruling Communist Party's People Daily, criticized the backlash against the movie in an editorial in its English edition, describing it as another manifestation of the extreme ideologies regarding China among U.S. public opinion. But it's not just the U.S. There are publications worldwide that are like, whoa, this place is bad news. Why is Disney giving them high fives? Disney had worked to ensure Mulan tested well with Chinese audiences, and the company's chief financial officer told investors on Wednesday it was very pleased with the initial results of its release elsewhere. The movie was released on Disney's streaming service in many markets rather than in cinemas due to COVID-19. We're going to talk about that because the understanding now is they released it to streaming services because it wasn't tracking very well. Mulan is likely to be shown on more than 40% of China's screens on Friday, according to data from Maoyan, a Tencent-backed ticketing platform. Chinese theaters are currently limiting capacity, typically at 50%. The movie sold $1.43 million worth of tickets as of Thursday afternoon, so they're still buying tickets. But are they going to buy $200 million worth? $500 million worth? $1 billion? Disney probably thought this was going to be another billion-dollar movie. Now they're saying the Chinese audiences said it, many people have seen it online. It only received a 4.7 out of 10, which is kind of like, what is this, like Chinese Rotten Tomatoes, Douban? I don't know how to pronounce that, I'm guessing. Comic Book Resources also covered this, and some of the comments are gold. They're like, was it worth it, Disney? Was it worth it? You know, this was supposed to save Disney. Oh, I like this one. This was supposed to save Disney because they're not doing well. Let's talk about that. Disney is supposed to have a $10 billion loss in 2020. Geeky put this article up yesterday. That's where she is right now, actually. She's working on her blog, piratesandprincesses.net. And here's an excerpt from the OC Register, which said Disney Parks, Experiences, and Products Division revenue is forecast to decline $9.8 billion in fiscal 2020, according to the Deutsche Bank report. Disney theme park revenue isn't expected to bounce back to pre-pandemic levels until at least 2023, according to the report. We assume substantial improvement in fiscal year 2022, but with revenue still not fully back to the fiscal year 19 levels, according to the report, we assume a return to full parks earning power in 2023. The parks. Now, the good news is Deutsche Bank's forecast that the Disney theme park division will rebound significantly by 2025 with a revenue 10 billion higher than pre-pandemic levels. But remember, kids, they have to pay back all those loans. They have to, they're going to be in the hole. By 2025 is when we can expect Disney to be back to pre-pandemic levels, a half a decade. That's how much damage has been done. They needed Mulan to be a hit. And guess what? China's not even going to help promote it. And guess what? People are boycotting Disney now over this, and they've definitely gotten a huge PR black eye over it. It is an ugly, ugly situation. Now, speaking of comic book resources, they mentioned that Mulan was showing terrible theatrical projections, which led to the Disney Plus release. The decision was made after research showed the live-action film was poised for a terrible theatrical run. Now, part of that is the shutdown, but part of it is, I'm going to be honest, I don't think American audiences were interested in this movie. I don't think they were interested in the movie. They said the research showed terrible theatrical projections for the live-action adaptation, leading to the decision to put it out on Disney+. So Disney CFO Christine McCarthy said consumers' reaction to returning to movie theaters during the pandemic was a major factor. Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of theaters are shut down. A lot of people don't want to go to theaters. Now we're hearing that other movies are going to be pushed back too. They're talking about pushing Wonder Woman back again, which I haven't told Geeky yet. She's not going to be very happy about that. She said the film's potential audience would have only been around 40% compared to pre-COVID theatrical releases. That, and not a whole lot of people gave a shit about this movie. I'm going to be honest. Here in the States, they didn't really care about Mulan. A lot of people were pissed off because they changed so much from the cartoon. They expected Disney's Mulan, Disney's animated Mulan, and they dropped major characters. They made some other changes to it. Some people had an issue with the star, who was very anti-Hong Kong. You know, they're watching the protests over there, so they had a problem there. I mean, just all the way around, this movie has been a cluster. It's been a cluster. It's not going to be the big hit that Disney needed it to be, that they expected it to be. China's not supporting it. It's not getting the downloads on VOD that they were expecting. I think we read an article a couple days ago that people were saying Bill and Ted 3 actually had more downloads than Mulan. So this is going to be a hard lesson learned for Disney. This is kind of the culmination, I think, of them chasing Chinese audiences almost exclusively, that, you know, this is who they're dealing with. They have to deal with the CCP. And, you know, they can turn on you on a dime, Disney. They will. If they don't like the press, they don't like the content, they can turn on you. And this is probably why Walt himself was very anti-communist. So he's got to be rolling in his grave at this point, guys. What the hell are you doing? Get back to your roots. If China wants to watch your movies, fantastic. But pandering to China is a very dangerous game. You know, trying to please the CCP is a very dangerous game, and it's going to cost you revenue elsewhere, all over the world. So I'm going to wrap this one up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, and we'll talk later.